What is up, mamas? Happy Wednesday. So in like 2 minutes, we are going to kick off the live recording of the Mom Boss Tribe podcast, which is how to choose yourself on the shitshowiest of days. And I'm super excited about this one because like you can take a breath, turn the corner, wake up in the morning, and it could be potentially a shit show day, self-created by you, or it could just happen to you, right? Like sometimes we don't have control around when a shit show shows up, right? But I wanted to really talk through this one because I think the shit show days are the ones that throw us off, and they don't necessarily need to, and we don't need to make them such a crazy ass barrier, like we sometimes do, right? By still like choosing ourselves, by still allowing ourselves to feel good, by still doing something for ourselves to like check in with us. How are we doing? How's it all freaking going? Right? And all of that kind of stuff. FYI, this is our second one in the Mom Boss Tribe live recording series for the podcast. These are kind of fun. Last time was kind of fun. I was kind of freaking nervous about it, right? But these are super, super fun. And the other thing is, I'm pretty sure I'm wearing almost the same exact clothing as I was last Wednesday. And I'll probably be wearing this sweatshirt like from now until I don't know, March, because I freaking like it, right? So if you see me on live wearing this sweatshirt all the time, I do actually wash it, I promise. I just really freaking like it. And I don't know about you, but it's like raining here today. And so I am like full on, it's, it feels a little fall-like, got some candles going. I don't know, that feels good in the morning. Cool? So here we go. I'm going to hit record on the podcast and then we're going to get this shit kicked off, right? If you have questions, if you want to make a comment, if you're like me too, don't hesitate to drop them inside of the comments section, okay? Because we should talk about them as long as you're here and on the live stream with me, the live recording with me, all right? So here we go. How to choose yourself on the shitshowiest of days. Hey Lisa, hope you're having a good day. So I want to talk about this one because number one, we can wake up to a shit show. We could wake up on a Wednesday morning and we might be like, oh my God, this is like everything's just happening to me, and every funky ass thing that could be unfolding for me is, right? And so you might find yourself in the middle of a shit show and that's like totally outside of your control, right? Or you might be doing what I did yesterday and creating a shit show for yourself. It's like a self-induced situation and you don't really even realize what's happening, right? But I think we mamas tend to create some shit shows for ourselves as well. And so I want to talk about both of those instances with you because we can get stuck there. We can live there. As soon as we're in a shit show land, we almost feel like we're like out of power, right? And what I mean by out of power is like we almost feel like this day is wrecked. There's nothing we can do to salvage it. We're stuck here until something magically happens and we begin to feel better, right? And that's not necessarily true, although it might feel that way when you're inside of a shit show, okay? The other thing that happens, and what I mean by choose yourself on the shit showiest of days, is really just like still, somehow, some way, check in with yourself. Like, is this how you want it to be? Is this how it needs to be? Can you do things differently? Can you change the situation? Can you change the feeling? Can you change your actions or outcome, or whatever? What I mean is still choosing yourself, right? Which is still showing up for yourself in some freaking way. Okay. So here's what we should talk about first is we all have shit show days. Self-created or not, we all have shit show days, right? That's just how life rolls. Like we're gonna have some good days. We're gonna have some crazy ass shit show days. And there's no reason to like, when we're in shit show land, it kind of feels like a little helpless, right? Or it kind of feels like, what did I do to create this? Or what's wrong with me that this is happening? Or God, why is this always happening to me? And it's almost like wanting to compare yourself to another mother sometimes. Does she have shit show days like I do? Or like wanting to make it mean something about you, right? Where you feel like something's wrong with you because this is happening. And I want you to know first and foremost that like everyone has that, right? Everyone has a shit show day. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. That doesn't mean that you're broken. That doesn't mean that, like you have to fix yourself, or that you're the way that you are, or the way that you're experiencing life right now is a wash and it's not good enough, or whatever. We all have shit show days. Even if we self-create them, we all have shit show days. You're freaking allowed to have that, right? And assuming that you can't have that, or shouldn't have that, or you should feel bad for that is really just going to make yourself sit and dwell in shit show land instead of being able to take action, right? And some of this stuff is actually like coming back to like getting out of the noise of the shit show, and getting out of the chaos of the shit show, and getting out of the chaos of life in general sometimes, right? That's something that I teach in Thrive Like a Boss, which is literally how to quiet down, come back to yourself a little bit, like quiet down, take some breathers, take some breaths here, and like make sense of what's happening, right? Come back to yourself, calm the emotions, clear your head, like get good at this process, right? Get good at coming back to yourself. I teach that in Thrive Like a Boss. That's exactly what I teach. I call it creating space, right? So if shit show land is like your normal, you might want to go check out Thrive Like a Boss. It is 28 days in length. I teach you exactly day by day how to keep coming back to yourself. And I make it like simple. I help you make this simple, right? Make this simple for yourself. Something that you can do for a few minutes every freaking day that like lets you calm the F down. Cool? But let's move on with the training today. You have questions about Thrive, you can ask them in the comments, or drop me a line inside of the Mom Boss Tribe group if you're listening on the podcast, and I will get you sorted out. Cool? Here's the deal. Yesterday, I created a shit show for myself, right? I actually sent an email out about it this morning. And yesterday I woke up and it was like, I had this day that was like, how you have those cool ass days where there's just like, there's a few things to do that that kind of need to get done on your like tasks of the day, right? And the things that I had to get done were like literally like really amazing yesterday. Really freaking simple. They were focused on like making life flow better, easier, all that kind of stuff for, me and my family at my home, and just like get set up and get kind of like into a new week and get things, settled and all of that kind of like, it was freaking easy. You know what those days are, right? Like they barely ever happen. And when they do happen, you're almost like, oh my God, this is like a breath of fresh air. I literally cannot screw this day up. I screwed it up yesterday, right? I really freaking screwed it up yesterday. So I self-created a shit show for myself. And I'm going to talk you through what that looks like, because I'm sure you've self-created many shit shows for yourself as well, just like I have, right? So I woke up kind of pissy yesterday. I'm not sure why. I don't really have a reason why, right? There's nothing that like triggered a pissy feeling or whatever. I just woke up kind of pissy. And so what happens for me is, like when I'm in that state, I'm like literally like, why do I feel like I don't like feeling like that? Right? That's not fun for me. I don't like feeling like that. And so I was in this place of like feeling pissy about stuff and reacting from feeling pissy about stuff, kind of forgetting about those simple like 4 things that I actually had to get done, right? Or wanted to actually get done. Kind of forgetting about them, and I was living in pissy land, and I was all up in this pissy feeling and all of these emotions, and like pissed. I was getting more pissed off for feeling pissy. I was letting my emotions pile up, like I was feeling emotions on top of emotions, right? And none of them felt fucking good. Not one of them felt good. And I was watching myself do this, and I was getting more frustrated by the second, right? And I was literally creating this shit show. So now it's been like, let's see, it's probably been like 3 hours, and I've got nothing of those 4 things done that I wanted to do for myself and for my family, and to like just make life flow easier for us all here at the Fisher house. Got none of that shit done. Got a whole bunch of stewing done. I screwed up a whole bunch of details of a whole bunch of other things because I was like living in pissy land while I was thinking about it, right? And by 2 p.m. I was like, whoa, hey there, self-created shit show. Like, I know what's happening. I'm literally doing this to myself right now. I'm all caught up in my BS. I'm all caught up in my bullshit. And it's like, what are you doing here, dude? Like, you got to figure out how to get out of this place, right? When I am in a self-created shit show, I make things way more complicated than they need to be. It's usually because I'm feeling a certain way emotionally, and then I start feeling shitty for feeling that way emotionally, guilty for feeling that way emotionally, I don't know, less than for feeling that way emotionally, like literally all of these things. So when I feel funky, I add more funkiness on top of it, right? And then that's when I complicate things up. That's when I add extra steps. That's when I make things way more harder than they have to be, because who knows why? I think that's just how I'm wired, right? That just happens for me. Yesterday was a self-created shit show. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a self-created shit show, right? When was your last one? Yesterday, like mine? Was it last night? Was it last week? Like, share, let me know when your last self-created shit show was, because I know that we mamas like to sometimes self-create our shit shows. Another way that this can go down for mamas is like, oh my God, like my kid wants to do something, right? My kid wants to do something, and like, I feel like I should give her that. So like now we're like adding all these things, all these activities, adding all of these steps for ourselves to get done every day, adding all of this shit to do and to add to our calendar, saying yes to everything, and then feeling resentful because now you have no time for yourself. That's kind of like another way that you can self-create shit shows. That version I've actually kind of conquered in the past, but I used to be the queen of those self-created shit shows, right? Being afraid to say no to things and then saying yes to a whole bunch of shit that I didn't want to freaking do to begin with, right? And so then I would like be pissy and resentful and make things complicated and have shitty energy and like half-ass my way through it. And I hated every second of it, right? That was another way that I used to self-create shit shows for myself, okay? Let's talk about the other shit shows, the ones that we all know and are familiar with. This is like when you're going through your day. Maybe you wake up like this, or maybe you've gone through like half of your day and like things start to go south. Like your tire blows on the way to get, groceries or run errands, or something happens at work that you forgot to do or somebody else forgot to do, and now it's impacting everything. And so now you have to stay late, and because you have to stay late, you have to miss this, this, and this, and you have to find out, like a sitter for this kid while you're here, and your husband's also out of town, and like you're in the middle of putting out freaking fires, right? You're in the middle of being in the middle of all these fires, and you're trying to put all of them out, right? Like things are happening to you that are really, really, really outside of your control. Like we've all been in that shit show land, right? This is like your kid having a meltdown in the middle of the Target while you have a full cart and you just want to leave the whole damn cart there and just walk out. Feel guilty about that. Like all of that kind of stuff. That's shit show land. That's the stuff that's like we can't really control, right? So there's two shit shows. Self-created, which I know we've all done. We probably just have different examples or whatever, and the ones that are outside of our control. I would love to hear your last shit show. Like I feel like moms, once we start comparing our shit shows or talking about, they're like war stories. Like sharing your shit show war stories is like that like thing that binds us together. Like, oh my God, I can feel that situation so hard. Like it's the thing that almost like sticks us together like glue a little bit, right? And so while shit shows are not fun, sometimes they are fun-y. Right? And they really like, after you're past the shit show, after you know what happened and processed it, you're like, yeah, that was actually really freaking ridiculous. That was really freaking funny. That was really like, oh my God, I can't believe we freaking survived that shit. Right? Drinking water time. So never hesitate to share your shit shows with me. I think we should celebrate them a little bit more than we do, right? Because we can literally get ourselves out of anything so long as we choose. And so when we give ourselves that, it's like permission to like freaking fly, right? And permission to like actually accomplish shit and take action and just boom, move, right? So what questions do you have for me so far? Self-created shit shows or the ones that just freaking happen to you, right? If you're listening on the live stream inside of the Mom Boss Tribe community, drop them in the comments. If you're listening on the podcast, don't hesitate to pop into the Mom Boss Tribe community as you're listening to this episode. Like, let's talk through your shit show, right? Here's what I want us to know. There's actually a process to choosing yourself, right? On the shitshowiest of days, no matter if you created that shit show or it happened to you, right? You can still choose yourself. Here's the deal. When we're in the middle of a shit show, yesterday, like my self-created one where I felt like I was stuck, like, oh my God, like there's something wrong with me, like what's going on? Why do I feel this way? Why is this all happening? Blah, 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 and just chaos in my brain. Or the Holy Meltdown Kid and Target shit show meltdown example, right? There's a choice. There is a choice in every situation. Sometimes the choices are not great, but there's always a choice to move away, right? If we're ready to. And I want to share that process with you because I think it's super, super important. When you're in the middle of a shit show, it's hard to remember that you have a choice. It's damn hard to remember that you have a choice, right? It's damn hard to even really realize what the fuck is even happening to you, right? It's hard to realize what's happening to you in that situation because it feels like everything is happening. All of the emotions are piled on top of everything that's happening. And it's like, this feels like so much. It almost feels like you just have to exist in this place the entire day, go to bed, and hopefully you're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be different, right? So I want to teach you how to avoid stringing out your shit show, right? And like choosing yourself early in the game so you can change that shit around if you need to, okay? Because I think this is a skill that a lot of moms are missing. And once they know how to do it, they can literally like, boom, take that back. Choose a different way. Decide to maybe move from the shit show. And like let everything process and let everything happen and not feel like a big pile of shit in the middle of it, right? You can move from this situation. You can still do something that's good for you here, right? So there's 4 parts of this process. 2 of them are the really biggies. 2 of them you're probably skipping or doing incorrectly, okay? They're the first 2. So let's talk through them. Number 1, when you're in the middle of a shit show, self-created or not, and you're like, I still want to choose myself. I still want to take care of myself. I still want to respect myself. I still want to respect my own needs here in this day, even though I'm in the middle of a shit show. Here is what you do. Step 1, acknowledge, like just step back and be like, yo, I'm in the middle of a shit show. You can acknowledge if this is your doing, this is self-created. You can acknowledge if this is just happening today and that's just how it is, but you have to acknowledge what's happening. I'm in the middle of a freaking shit show and I don't really like being here. I'm in the middle of a shit show. This is what's happening. Call it as you see it, mama. You're in the middle of a shit show. It's okay to say that to yourself, right? In fact, you should say it to yourself because otherwise you're going to be sitting around in like this funky, weird place of like, I don't know why things are happening to me. Once you're like, I'm in the middle of a shit show. I'm here. This is what's going on. You're like, boom. Now I can feel my way to making like some decisions, right? Now I can almost like feel that there's another outcome here that could happen. Now I'm in this place where I can feel like there might be another opportunity here, or there might be a different way to handle this or feel this or experience this or live this, right? Acknowledge that you're in the middle of a shit show. Doesn't matter if it's self-created. Doesn't matter if it's not self-created. Just acknowledge that you're in the middle of a freaking shit show. Okay? First step, do not skip that step. Otherwise, we kind of end up in this weird powerless place. All right? 2, allow it, right? Allow yourself to feel what it feels like to be in the middle of your shit show. Yesterday, I needed to let myself feel really, really pissy for a little while. And then by letting myself feel that way, finally, like at the end, I was like questioning, like, why am I even pissed? What's going on with this pissiness? Like, why is it here? Right? And by allowing it, I was almost like, that was like permission to feel that stuff, right? But I've like yesterday also, like there was more than pissiness. I felt pissiness initially, and then it was almost like the overwhelm of feeling this pissiness and not knowing why. And then there was like the guilt for feeling this way and not knowing why. And then there was like the what's wrong with me for feeling this way and not knowing why, okay? But here's what I want you to do, is you need to be able to feel what you're feeling without like making a judgment about yourself because of it. So yesterday, what I was doing is I was feeling pissiness and then I was feeling a little like guilty, blah, 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 right? And all that kind of stuff on top of the pissiness. I was adding emotions to the emotions. But what happens is, as soon as we do that, we mamas tend to make that, like that pissy feeling or whatever feeling you're feeling mean something about usually how worthy we are, like how good enough we are, how we're not quite right or not quite like somebody else who probably doesn't feel stuff like that. It's just us, right? There must be something wrong with us. We're like professionals at making ourselves feel a certain way for feeling a certain way. And usually we do this when we are feeling the yucky feeling emotions, right? We don't tend to do this when we're feeling the fun feeling emotions. We tend to do it when we're feeling the shitty feeling emotions, right? So here's what you got to do. After step 1, after the acknowledgement, allow your emotions. And try to do that without judgment, right? So what you can do here is literally like, let yourself feel pissy. Let yourself feel a little overwhelmed if that's what you feel. Let yourself feel frazzled. Let yourself feel like you're frantically running around and you're behind the 8 ball all the time if that's what it feels like. Let yourself feel that way for a minute, right? Allow it. What happens, and I actually talked about this, I think earlier this week on a live stream, I can't remember when, but it's like we sometimes feel guilty for feeling that way, for feeling less than like grateful to be a mother, or less than like, oh my God, I can't believe I feel like I should feel lucky for this life, right? Because somebody else always has it worse. And so then like we try to like not feel that shitty stuff because we feel bad for feeling that shitty stuff, right? And then we try to like switch our focus to, oh my God, let's just feel worse for somebody else because they have it worse than we do. And then we never feel that stuff. And then it keeps sticking around and it keeps hanging around. So what happens is once I acknowledged yesterday that I was in the middle of a shit show, and it was a self-created shit show, and I was like, I feel pissy. Okay. I feel pissy. I don't really know why, right? It's here. I've felt pissy before. I survived that day, right? I felt pissy many times. I've survived that. We're still at this point. Still got farther in life, so I might be okay, right? I know that I can survive feeling pissy. There doesn't have to be, like I was always thinking about it. I was like, then I got like curious about it, right? Like, I'm not sure why I feel pissy. There's not really any reason that I feel pissy. This feels actually kind of silly at this point, right? But I didn't not let myself feel pissy, right? It wasn't like I had to like fake it till I make it, turn that shit around. I just let myself feel that way. And then pretty soon I was like, the pissiness was gone. And I was like, that was a little ridiculous. That was a little over the top. And then it was funny to me, right? But it was also like the allowing myself to feel that way moved the pissiness, right? It moved the pissiness. Oh my God. Like, so this emotion thing, this self-created shit show thing was beginning to solve itself for me. Guess what? After this second step, I felt way more in control and way more like aware, and like I had options, and like I could turn this day around than I did when I was in the middle of this self-created crisis, right? So just allow yourself. Let's say it's not a self-created shit show. Who cares? Let's say your newborn baby just had a blowout in the middle of God knows where, Target, and you don't have any extra clothes along. And so here you are with like baby poop on your clothes, on your baby's clothes. You still have to get diapers because that's why you're here to begin with, because you don't have any. And like you're in the middle of a shit show, literally, right? Like you're allowed to feel frazzled. You're allowed to feel like, holy shit, is this happening to me? You don't have to shove that shit under a rug, right? Because I bet when you do not shove that shit under a rug and you let yourself feel that, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm on my way home from Target right now. I still have poop on me, and so does my baby, and I'm still okay. And actually, I'm going to call my husband because this is ridiculous, and this is actually kind of funny, right? And I actually, like, I have a story to tell now, like, to the rest of the Mom Boss tribe and all of these other people, like, oh my God, this freaking happened to me, and guess what? You're still here to talk about it, right? First 2 steps of choosing yourself in the shit show. Acknowledge that it's happening. Allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, right? Third step is where most people try to go to without doing the first 2. And that's why they keep going around in this crazy ass cycle of always having shit shows, right? Because they're never allowing the first part, acknowledgement, and allowing the feelings, right? Choose to move from this situation. This doesn't have to mean dive head first or run a marathon in completely the opposite direction. In fact, that's overwhelming and that makes things really, really hard. But give yourself permission to think about taking a step the other direction in what you are right now, right? In the self-created shit show yesterday, I was like, yeah, I actually don't need to worry about all the shit that I'm making a big deal right now. I literally have 4 things here that I would really like to do today to move the dial and make life here at the Fisher house move and feel really good, right? 4 freaking things. So I can start on number 1. I can start working on number 1 and choose not to like keep spinning here on this shit show detail stuff that I've just created in my head, right? I can focus on task number 1. I took a step. I chose to take a step in the other direction that I was feeling. I chose to move, right? Choosing is like your permission slip to do something differently than how you're doing it right now. That's important in the middle of a shit show because that's your personal like, hey, you're allowed to feel a different way today. You don't have to live here for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. You're allowed to move. Perfect, right? Because you don't want to live in a shit show. It feels powerless. It feels kind of miserable. Yeah, they're funny sometimes and they're like a good war story and it's fun to trade stories with other moms, but it's also like not super fun to live there, right? You don't want to live your life in a shit show, whether or not it's self-created. You can choose to move another way, right? In the opposite direction. You only really have to take one tiny step. You don't have to conquer the rest of the day. You literally have to take one action in the opposite direction of what you are right now. That's it. Just freaking one. Because as soon as you do that, you're like, whoa, look at me turning this shit around. And I guarantee you're going to take more steps, but you only have to worry about taking the first one, right? Because then you're like changing your energy. You're like giving yourself permission to feel differently. You're kind of taking back that power a little bit, right? 4th step is actually combined with number 3, but it's literally the action of moving the other way. The 1 step, the small step. Right? And then continuously like acting again, right? So this whole thing is a cycle. We get into this space where things feel, the shit show feels really, really powerful and we feel really, really powerless, right? So the shit show feels like it's this big cloud that's raining and pouring and doing crazy things. And we feel like we're sitting underneath it without an umbrella and we're powerless and we're just destined to live here for the rest of the day until the rain stops and eventually we dry out and like maybe there's a rainbow at the end of it, hopefully. Otherwise, we're just going to feel soggy for the rest of the day. No, that's not how it gets to go. What happens is I don't know about you, but for me, yeah, I love looking back on my shit shows and learning from them. I don't like feeling them in the process, no matter if they're self-created or not. I get a little chaotic. I get a little nuts in those situations. I can lose my patience. I can do whatever. And when I start to do those things, I can like unravel very quickly. And as soon as I unravel, like it's harder and harder and harder to get myself back to feeling good. I don't like to live my life in this place where I don't have a lot of power or control over my choices, right? Or I don't like to live in this place where I don't feel like I am the one that's responsible or in charge of how I get to feel. And so when I feel myself like in the middle of a shit show and letting that all mean something and letting that unravel and waiting for somebody else to make me feel better or for something else to happen that's going to make me feel better or whatever, I'm giving away all of my ability to like actually feel good in this situation, actually take control of the situation, actually like do something that moves the dial the other way. I hate the in-between stage of the shit show and feeling good. This stage is really, really dicey for a lot of people because so many of us never choose to move on, never acknowledge, never allow ourselves to feel that way, never choose to act another way and actually take the action. We just live in this funky ass little space that feels kind of like miserable, right? It feels yucky. It feels like I'm just here. This isn't really working out for me. This doesn't feel good. I'm just going to wait around for my husband to do something that's going to make me feel happy, or my boss to give me a raise, or my coworker to, like maybe do a project for me that I don't really want to do. No. That's like the opposite of mom boss, is waiting around for shit to make you happy or to change the situation. The mom boss way here is to own up, right? Acknowledge what's happening. Yeah, I'm going to feel pissy for a couple hours and I'm going to like let myself freaking have that. And then I'm going to move on, right? And then I'm going to choose to take a step in the other direction and I'm going to keep taking that step, right? I'm the one who assumes the power to turn the shit show around. That's how I choose myself, right? That's the magic. That's you owning how you get to feel. That's you. Like, I want to feel good today. Maybe the shit show lasted for 20 minutes. Guess what? The rest of the 23 hours and 40 minutes of the day are not for nothing, right? They're not lost. I still get to have a good day. This was a blip in my radar. The shit show is not something that gets me stuck, keeps me here, keeps me living in a funk or whatever. I get to choose how I handle this situation. That's the choice, right? The choice, choosing yourself, is how you're deciding to handle this for your good, for how you get to feel, for how amazing it is to be you, for how you get to overcome things that still sometimes feel hard. And that's freaking okay, because you know that you can do hard things and still come out feeling good about it. Right? You can still come out feeling like you made the best choice about it. You can still come out feeling like, God, I really took ownership of that day and turned that shit around. Right? That's you. That's the magic of you. Right? That's the personal power, personal responsibility of choosing not to live in repeated freaking shit shows. Right? That's amazing. That's awesome. So no matter if you're listening inside of the Mom Boss Tribe community or on the Mom Boss Tribe podcast, I want to hear how you overcame your last shit show. What happened for you? Like, first of all, what was the shit show? Like, can you top anybody's inside of the Mom Boss Tribe? Like, I want to hear your shit show. I think shit show stories are actually pretty damn fun to listen to after we've passed them, after we've processed them, after we've said goodbye to them, and we can kind of see the humor in them, right? I would love to hear what your shit show was, and I would love to hear how you actually took ownership of that stuff and turned the shit show around for your benefit, because you get to feel good, because you are in charge of how you feel, right? You're in charge of taking action on things when they don't feel freaking good, right? I would love to hear how you did that for yourself. I am seriously all ears. If you're tuning in on the podcast, please jump into the Mom Boss Tribe community and share that with us, or direct message me on Instagram, or however you can get a hold of me. I would love to hear it. But if you're inside of the Mom Boss Tribe community, share your shit show. Make a post inside of here. I want to hear your shit shows unfold and how you turned that shit show around, no matter if it was self-created or not. Cool? I would love to hear that about you. In the meantime, quickie reminder, I'm actually about to reopen up Mom Boss Lifestyle over the next couple weeks, because we're moving into the last half of September into October. I get really jazzed about fall, and I get super excited about shit, and Mom Boss Lifestyle is included in that. But in the meantime, I am Thrive Like a Boss, my course to actually help you unwind some of this stuff, ditch the overwhelm that you feel in some of these situations, and literally choose the whole concept of today to come back to yourself, to calm yourself down, to let yourself have a clear head and make sense of shit, and refocus, reprioritize, re-choose yourself. That is on sale through tomorrow, September 12th. It's $34 off right now, which makes it $77. Normally it's a course that is $111, right? It's 28 days of how to choose yourself, how to create space for yourself, how to carve out minutes per day to create the habit of choosing you, so you can feel calm, so you can feel clear-headed, so you might actually like this whole mom life thing again after you've kind of ditched your overwhelm, so you can come back to yourself and make sense of this shit, right? So you're not living in shit show land. It's literally like shit show prevention, right? Super excited about it. Again, it's on sale through tomorrow, September 12th. You guys have a happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me for this one, Mama. I'm really loving having the Mom Boss Tribe podcast as a live recording inside of the community on Wednesdays right now. It's just fun. It's a way for you guys to participate. It's a way for you guys to get your questions answered if you have them. Let's keep this going for a little while, okay? If you have any topics that you need to hear about in the very near future, don't hesitate to drop them inside of the Mom Boss Tribe community. Cool? Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.